last night we had Texas primaries. John and I covered for you guys at length. And if you didn't hear the news, let me tell you all about it. Whoa, no, let me tell you about the Texas primaries. So on the unsurprising side, we had Ted Cruz winning the Republican primary, of course, to run for Senate again in Texas. Beto O'Rourke, congressman from Texas, obviously, running in against Ted Cruz in the Senate. He won comfortably, no problem there, okay? And Beto O'Rourke doesn't take any PAC money, so he's uncorrupted in that way, and he's very progressive. So that's good and interesting news on that front. But the real drama of the night was, are the Justice Democratic candidates going to win? Now, these are the really progressive candidates. Some of them, the Democratic Party, not only are opposed to, but actively, openly. Laura Moser, they did Oppo research on and then released it publicly. So it was the civil war within the Democratic Party had commenced last night. So who's going to win, the establishment guys or the Just Democrats who run with no corporate PAC money and sign on to a progressive platform? So a little bit of mixed results, but plenty of drama. And overall, I think very good results. Okay, so, but let me give you the good news, the bad news, and the ugly news. Okay, first, I'm gonna tip our 40 to our fallen comrades here. So there were 7 Justice Democrats up last night. There's 52 overall in the country. In Texas' 2nd district, we had Darnell Jones. Now, if you make it into 2nd place and the 1st place person does not have 50%, in Texas you have a runoff. Now, Jones did get 2nd place, but unfortunately, the person in 1st squeaked out the majority there at 52.8%. So there will be no runoff. Todd Litton is the Democratic candidate in the 2nd district. So Darnell Jones lost. Now, a fan favorite, Derrick Crow, is a person who's been involved in progressive politics for a long time. He was in the 21st district, and there we had a really crowded primary with a lot of vote getters. A lot of times it's just 1st and 2nd, but in this case, really spread out. And in that district, he had a really good showing, 23 points, but unfortunately came in 3rd. So there is a runoff there, but he will not make the runoff. So as you can see there, 23.1%, but you've got Mary Wilson and Joseph Kopser ahead of him. So they'll be doing a runoff in May. So those 2 Just Democrats lost. Well, now let me go to some of the winners. So you're getting a sense of the math here. If you're paying attention. All right, first we go to the most obvious one, the first Just Democrat to win their primary in the country. In history, in fact. Okay, I believe the Just Democrat caucus will be an incredibly strong, uncorrupted progressive caucus inside the House and the Senate. And the person who started it, when they look back in history, will be Vanessa Iadarola in Texas. She was in the 12th district. Now, we have to confess it was not a surprise that she won because she was running uncontested. Hence, Vanessa Iadarola won. And by the way, on our live coverage last night, tytnetwork.com/live on all the primary nights, all Tuesday nights, she came on afterwards and talked about there actually was a person in the race, but Vanessa's candidacy was so strong that person dropped out of the race, and that's why by the end she was unopposed. Now, another huge winner, and we had her on as well, Adrienne Bell in Texas' 14th district. She won overwhelmingly, 79.8%. Damn. So there will be no runoff. She is the winner, and she will go on to take on the Republican in the 14th district. And they better watch out. She told a great story. She's a 2nd grade teacher. A lot of these folks, Vanessa's a teacher, Adrienne's a teacher, Rick Trevino's a teacher. And she told a story about how her 2nd graders sent her a note saying, "Go, Miss Bell, go." So, and we nicknamed her the Liberty Bell. So she's coming, man. That 80%, and she talked about how her volunteers made a huge difference. 140 volunteers in that district. So people power actually working in a bit of a landslide in that case. Now, one that was really up in the air was Lindsay Fagan. She was in 26th district. Basically, 2 people in that race, and in that race we had first Lindsay leading with some percentage of the vote. reporting, and then her falling into second place, and the person above her above 50%, because it's basically just two people, and it went back and forth all night long until Lindsay Fagan declared the winner.
Oh my God.
All right, 52.7% beating out Will Fisher. She will take on the Republican in that district. So that's 3 winners clearly going forward now, and no runoffs in those. Now, let's get to the last 2. The Laura Moser race is the one that most people were paying attention to because the DCCC attacked her in the middle of a primary, violating their own rules to not attack fellow Democrats. It was unprecedented, and she was in 6th place just a couple of weeks ago. Could she make it all the way up to the top 2 to get into the runoff? Well, it turns out, thank you very much, DCCC, she did in fact do that. She came in second, and a pretty close second at 24.3. There was a lot of people in that race. There was a former Goldman Sachs banker in that race who people thought was gonna come in second because of his money. Wrong, people power. Laura Moser, just Democrat, backed by Our Revolution, backed by Progressive Change Campaign Committee as well, going to the runoff, okay? And then last night, John and I had a lot of fun tracking the Rick Trevino race. Now, Rick is another one of these guys, real person, teacher, got a bunch of volunteers, and he fought real hard. He started in 3rd place, which would have meant that he was not in the runoff. In fact, Gina Jones in that race was above 50% for a while, meaning there would be no runoff. But then all of a sudden, here comes Rick Trevino. He came in and jumped into second. Gina Jones fell out of 50%. She became less than 50%. And then all of a sudden, Rick Trevino pulls it out. He is now going into the runoff, and man, he went to second place, third place, second place, third place, and it was incredible drama last night. They haven't quite given him the check yet. They're probably going to check the votes a little bit more thoroughly, but he won by over 200 votes. And by the way, guys, get out there and vote in the primaries.
Yeah. Look
Look at how little these votes are, okay? He won by about 200 votes. So if you're out in the 23rd district in Texas and you went after it and you participated, you either volunteered for Rick, you donated to Rick, or you actually went out and voted for him, you made the difference. So he is likely going to the runoff. So, by the way, the links for all these folks to help them donate, volunteer website will be down below in the description box on YouTube, in the comment section on Facebook, if you're watching this later online. And lastly, let's just do a tally here. We got 3 clear wins going up against Republicans. We got 2 people in the runoff. And by the way, in the runoff, once you knock out a lot of the establishment folks and a lot of people that are progressive or claim to be progressive, etc., you got 1 establishment person against 1 progressive. I think those odds favor us greatly. Okay, we'll find out if I'm right or wrong about that. But 2 people in the runoff and 2 people who lost. 3, 2, and 2. That is not bad for the first night of the Just Democrats. That is, I think, a very, very strong showing.
Yeah.
I mean, remember, look, when I asked the experts when the Justice Democrats first began, how many Justice Democrats do you think there will be in Congress in 2019? The answer I got was universally 0 or 1. Okay.
Oh, they gave you the 1.
Right. Some thought, I don't know, maybe 1 guy will squeak in, etc. Right. Now, first of all, there's already 2 incumbents, Ro Khanna and Raul Grijalva, so we're on the
joke's on you.
We're already in the over, okay? But these folks are coming, man. If you're not looking out for the Liberty Bell, you're making a mistake, okay? So, and of course they got to get past the runoffs, the ones that are in there, and then they got to beat the Republicans. But these districts are swinging, and Texas is turning more blue every day, and there's a lot more Democrats showing up and a lot more energy. So here come the Justice Democrats.
Yeah, and we saw, I mean, obviously there's a ton of analysis about what happened, and we saw that both with many Justice Democrats and then also outside of it, a lot of female candidates doing very well in Texas. It looks like, based on demographic trends and blah, 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 Texas is about to have its first ever Latina congresswoman. In fact, it looks like it's about to have 2. It seems crazy demographically that it never has before, but that's about to change as well. So one of many good changes coming to Texas thanks to this most recent round of primaries.
Yeah, and if you want to watch all of our coverage, tytnetwork.com/join, become a member, and you can get it anytime you want. If you want to see some of the interviews we did with the candidates, youtube.com/TYTpolitics or the main channel, youtube.com/TYT. You just watched the video by the Young Turks, the home of the revolution. If you'd like to get the full show, come join us and become a member. TYTnetwork.com/join.